Hello, everyone. I am back with another review. This is Chrisnatha, Derosier, certified life coach and speaker. Hello, everyone, and I am back with another review of Iyanla Fix My Life. And today we're going to be reviewing season 8, episode 3. Season 8, episode 3. So, for those of you who have not seen it yet, the name of the third episode is Dirty Laundry and Unfinished Business. So, the Giles family comes back to see Iyanla. One thing I've noticed that Iyanla has been doing so far is she is bringing back guests, past guests, and families to come and continue working with her. And as we all know, this is her last season. So it's really good that she's following up with a couple of the families and really allowing us to see the process continue with some of them. And this family had a lot of issues to work through, a lot of breakdown within the family, a lot of generational strongholds that were taking place. So I'm really happy to see that they're back working with her. And so this is a big family. We have Mark, not Marcus. Mark Sr. is the dad. Mark Jr., the eldest son. Jordan is another son. We have Ashley, an older daughter. We have Jaden. I believe she's the youngest daughter. And we also have Jamila, who is Mark Sr.'s wife. And we have Dorothy, who is the grandmother, queen mother. Okay, there are two siblings that did not participate. There's one son, Mark Jr. He appeared, but it was via video. He was not there in person. But there are twin sisters that did not decide to participate this time. And we don't really know why, but we know that they did not come back this time around. Shanae and Janae, they did not come back. And so at the beginning of the episode, we see that Iyanla she displays this heart. And she says that the heart represents home, and home is where the heart is. But this heart is divided. This heart has a lot of broken pieces, right? And it represents the family. And each part of the heart has somebody's name, a family member, and it has some things and some words and some phrases on the back of it that they shared the last time they were there. And so some of those things are really heartbreaking to hear, but they were honest. And I love this activity because it allowed us to see where they were, where they left off, and right where Iyanla is going to pick back up, right, from the last time that they were there with her. And so Mark Sr., who's the father, I believe he's 55 years old. And for him, he says on his part of the heart that he is a father in crisis. He is a father in crisis. He has no sense of purpose and that he needs to be needed. That's what his says. Ashley, she's the black sheep. She feels forgotten. Jamila is the wife. She's Mark Sr.'s wife. And she says that she's codependent. She's indecisive. She can't make a decision on her own. And she also feels trapped. Jordan is the 17-year-old son. He says he's wounded, he has triggers, and he's only here for a check. And Jaden says she's spoiled, she tells the truth, and she is a protector. So these are just some different things that are describing how they felt when they left the last season, and maybe how they still feel. And so we start off with Mark Sr., the head of the household, the dad. He revealed that his mom, Dorothy, Queen Mother, she abandoned him when he was younger. He says that she made him emotionally responsible for her financial hardship at a very young age. And so he felt responsible because there was no dad in the picture. He felt like he had to show up for her. He had to make money. He had to make sure that she was taken care of at a very young age. And as many of you know, children tend to want to protect and help their mothers, right? And so that's how he felt. I hate that he felt like that at such a young age, because children should allow to be children and not have to grow up so fast and feel like they have to step in adult shoes. But unfortunately, this is the case for some families, and this was the case for him. He also said that he grew up in a family of functioning alcoholics. And this is also something that he has suffered with as well. So not only did he have functioning alcoholics in his family, he became one of them. And so we start to see how all of these things start to trickle down to the next generation. Dorothy, who is the grandmother, from my personal opinion, she came off a bit reserved, a bit cold, but she also seemed as though she came to learn about herself. Though she's older in age, she didn't seem like she was closed off to the process, which is good, because sometimes when people get to a certain age, they can feel like, or come across like, there's nothing new for me to learn. There is nothing that this woman is going to teach me. And Dorothy did not come off that way. She owned her stuff, which I appreciate. And I think that helped the family kind of get in line with being open and owning, who they are today and who they want to become. There is one of the children, one of the grandchildren, one of Dorothy's grandchildren, one of the daughters, Mark Sr.'s daughters. I think she's the youngest, Jaden. She has the most issues with her grandmother. So Grandma Dorothy don't really like Jaden. And she has said in the last time they were there, in the last episode, that last season, that she loves her granddaughter, but she does not like her. And she said that to her face. And so we never really understood why, but it starts to reveal itself. And we finally get clear on why she doesn't like this particular granddaughter towards the end of the episode. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Dorothy, she began breaking down and explaining that she wasn't the best mother to Mark Sr. and that she did the best she could with what she knew based on how she was raised. And once again, we just start to continue to see the generational strongholds that continue to take place with each new generation, because it's not dealt with. It's not dealt with in the current one. So Mark Jr., he's about 31. He appeared via video. He was not there in person. He doesn't live with the family. He actually left the family a long time ago. But Iyanla got him on video, and I'm really happy he was able to still join them virtually, because I feel like there was a breakthrough at some point, at least the beginning of something new. So that is really, really good and really positive. And he explained that once his dad got married to his current wife, he's been married to his wife for about 20 years now. Once he got married to that wife, the son felt neglected. He felt like his dad didn't want him anymore because he had this new wife. And one of the things that he explained, one of his experiences, was when he would come home from school as a kid, maybe not embracing his stepmom at first, because, teenagers might be going through his own feelings about this new person coming into his life and taking up his dad's attention. He didn't say hello to her when he got home from school. So he walked into the house, did not say hello. So his dad confronted him and said, "Did you speak to my wife?" And he said no. And his dad physically fought him. Well, beat him, I guess. Or maybe they got into a scuffle and they were actually fighting. But his dad was physically hitting him and beating him regarding that and because of that. And so that began to trickle into just his dad being physical all the time. His dad would get upset, and he saw his dad anger grow more and more. And then on top of that, his dad, Mark Sr., had a drinking problem. So you mix alcohol with rage, with frustration, with feeling like your child is disrespectful, with all of these different things. It is a recipe for disaster. So that's what happened with Mark Jr. And he felt like, either I'm going to get hurt by my father, or I'm going to hurt my father and possibly take his life. So we need to separate. And so he separated himself from the family. Of course, the younger siblings did not understand what was going on, and they took it as though their big brother didn't want to be in their life. And that's not the case, but that's what they perceived. So that's what happened with the eldest son. He's not in the family in terms of being close to them, but it looks like that's something that they wanted to change. I noticed that Mark Jr. was so tough and upset when talking about his father. Iyanla told him to hold on. She went and got Queen Mother. She went and got Dorothy, his grandmother. The moment his grandmother appeared on the computer screen, he melted. He got so soft. He immediately got emotional. His eyes like filled up with tears. And I'm thinking, wow, look how much he changed once his grandmother came into the room. And I love to see that because I believe that if you have a close connection with your grandparents, no matter how old you are, you kind of turn into this young person, whether it's 10, 12, whatever the case is, when they're in the room, right? And you feel like they protect you. And he felt like his grandmother was his protector from his father. And so they have a close connection, even though they probably haven't spoken or seen each other in some time. So I love the way that he melted once his grandmother entered the room. I thought that was beautiful. He turned into a young boy again, it looks like. And so that took place, and she was encouraging him to continue the process. And the younger siblings, like I stated, felt like their big brother just left them when that wasn't the case. So tempers got hot, but at least they were able to express themselves. Mark Sr., the father, and Mark Jr., the son, finally were able to speak. Though Mark Jr. was joining them via video, they were finally able to talk about their breakdown, talk about why they're not close, talk about why he left the house so young, right? Talk about his dad's drinking problem and his anger. And one thing I noticed in this family, there's a lot going on, but there's also a lot that they're not talking about with each other. And I see this in many families. My family has gone through this, but I'm definitely going to break the ice and bring up things that need to be talked about. And I'm glad that they did this with Iyanla. There were so many things that all they needed was someone to help orchestrate the conversation. Because let's be honest, having challenging and tough and difficult conversations are not, it's not easy, and they're not fun. Difficult conversations are not fun at all. They're uncomfortable. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. You don't want anyone to become offended. And so you just want to play it safe. And so you may end up walking on eggshells around this person in your family for so long because you just want to keep the peace. But sometimes you have to stir things up in order to rebuild them again. And so I'm happy that Mark Sr. was able to talk to Mark Jr. and really hear what his son was saying about how he was raised by him. You know, he may be a better person today, but back then he really hurt him. And so, of course, Mark Sr., he apologized, and he explained to his son that I did the best I could, you know, and I wasn't a good person, but I realized I need to be a better person. And so that was, I believe, the first step of healing. And he explained to his son that he was under so much pressure as a young kid, and that grew so much resentment developed on the inside of him, and he carried that into his adulthood. But I'm glad that they were able to talk about it. It doesn't make it right, but at least they can start the healing process. So one of the big lessons for this portion of the episode for me was that what is not dealt with in one generation will show up in the next. What you don't deal with in one generation, your children will have to pay that price. And so what you don't address and don't confront in one generation will show up in the next. And so it's time to have these difficult conversations. It's time to break these generational strongholds, because they're showing up in our children and their children and their children. And that's not what we want. We don't want a generation of dysfunction. That's not the legacy that we're trying to create, right? We're trying to create a generation of love, abundance, understanding, a sense of identity, a sense of purpose. And so it's time to start the healing process for all of us today. And so that was one main lesson. And another lesson that I picked up while I was watching was that though you may not want to be like your mom or your dad or your parents with their bad habits, right? If you do not learn different tools, you will be the very same thing that you despise. And so you may feel like, oh my goodness, my father is so disrespectful. He's so rude. He's so mean. Because all of those children did not like their dad's anger, but they all have their dad's anger. You see what I'm saying? So they may not like that trait, like that characteristic, but they all display it. Though they don't like it, they display it themselves. And so you have to learn new tools, because if you don't learn new tools, you will use the tools that you have, whether you like them or not. So that was another lesson. For the young son, Jordan, he's 17. Listen, he ran off, tore off his mic, and just ran out into the road or sidewalk. And so they had to run after him and go get him. I do appreciate, after everything calmed down the next day, that Iyanla spoke to him, but she spoke to him in private off camera, because she felt like he would be more honest and open to her helping him if there were no cameras. So she got him off camera and they had their conversation. Okay, so that was I think that was really awesome, that it wasn't all about the episode. Like, yes, we need to capture these moments, but more than anything, we need to help these people. We need to help the family. So if that means that somebody has to step off camera, take off their mic, and we'll do it in private, then let's do that. So I appreciated that as well. Now, Mark Sr. and his mother. This is a very interesting dynamic. Mark Sr. says when he was young, he protected his mom. Someone broke into his mom's home or something one time, and he went and he fought that person. It was very violent. And I think he even ended up getting arrested over it. Like, he protected her. He made sure she was okay. He worked hard to provide for his mother, even if that meant selling drugs. And his mother accepted the money. So he felt a sense of responsibility for her, that he always had to be there for her. So later on in his life, maybe about 14, 16, however old he was, his mom met someone and either got married or moved in with this person. Naturally, he thought, my mom is moving, so am I. Her new man and her told her son at the time, I forget how old he was, that he cannot come. So he felt like his mom chose her man over him. She left him behind, I believe, with family, or to have to figure it out himself, and went with her new man. And he felt like, I have given you so much. I've dedicated my life. I make sure I protect you. I even sell drugs and bring money to you. And now you get a man and you leave me, right? So he felt betrayed then. That's one part. The other part is, now when he gets older, he becomes an adult, he gets married. He decides to get married to his wife, his current wife. They've been married about 19 years. The mother is instantly jealous, and feels like he betrayed her for getting married. So you see this very unhealthy dynamic. He feeling like his mom abandoned him, almost like he had to step into this husband role for her, providing for her, protecting her. And he was a young boy. That's a lot of pressure on a kid, to have to do all of that and have all of that responsibility for his mother. And then on the flip side, for his mother to be so jealous when it's time for him to marry another woman. So he feels like, my mom left me for a man, right? And she feels like, my son left me for this woman. So there's a very unhealthy dynamic that this mom and son have. It's almost like they were in this relationship because they both felt like they were being betrayed when the other person moved on with someone else. Though I don't agree with her leaving her child behind. That is not okay. Moms and children are a package deal. And so that's where the breakdown happened. And Jamila, Mark Sr.'s wife, said something. She said when she was going to marry her husband, his mom said to her, if he wasn't my son, I'd marry him myself. Imagine, ladies, you meet this man, you guys decide you want to get married. you're meeting his mother, you're talking to his mother. I think it was her wedding day, I believe. And your soon-to-be mother-in-law says to you, if he wasn't my son, I'd marry him myself. Weird much? Yes, that's weird. Why would you even say that? That just doesn't make sense. That dynamic is just off. So the wife didn't realize at the time. She felt like the comment was off, but she didn't think much of it. But of course, as the years went by, she realized y'all dynamic, y'all bond is uncomfortable. It doesn't make sense. It's out of order. And so there's definitely, it's just that relationship, just, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense with the son and the mother. Yes, sons are close to their mom, absolutely. But your son is not your husband, he's your son. So it was a lot of dysfunction there. But I know a lot of single mothers. If this isn't you, then I'm not talking about you. There's a lot of single mothers that indirectly, or maybe not really knowing, you're not mindful of it, you're not aware, but you make your son, you give him the place of your man, right? In an emotional way, he's almost responsible for you. And that's not fair. Or even financial, right? As he begins to get older, and that's not okay. It's not healthy. It's out of alignment. So definitely check out those relationships. It should never be that way. Not to the point where you're jealous because he wants to get married. He's a grown man, right? So you definitely got to check that relationship and make sure it's not out of whack. All right, so Iyanla made a great point. Iyanla made an amazing point. She always do, but she made an amazing point. She talked to Dorothy, the grandmother, queen mother, about her relationship with Jamil, who is her son's wife. And she talked about her and Jamil's relationship. And she said, I think that you never liked her because you kept seeing her as the other woman. So you made it seem as though your son was cheating on you. So think about this for a second. If the mother considers in her mind, right, the woman who took her son away from her, right? If she considers his wife, Jamil, as the other woman, that now explains why Grandma Dorothy has an issue with her granddaughter, Jaden. The other children have different mothers. Jaden is the daughter of Jamil and Grandma's son, right? So her mother is Jamil, her dad is Mark Sr. Why is this important? Dorothy, Grandma Dorothy, doesn't like her granddaughter Jaden because she is the offspring of the other woman. It makes sense now why she's had this really tough relationship with this grandchild only, but gets along fine with the other ones. Because Jamil represents the other woman. Jaden is her daughter, and therefore I have a problem with the both of you. So it's a lot of dysfunction going on in the family. And I'm so happy that Iyanla really brought it to the light so that they could have those tough conversations, deal with it, forgive, and start their healing process. And speaking of healing, Iyanla let Jamil know that they were going to be having a healing ceremony, which I thought was really necessary for her. She's very codependent. She can't really make decisions on her own. She doesn't think for herself. I don't think that she has found her inner strength yet as a woman. And so having those women really pour into her, pray for her, I thought was amazing. And she also made sure that Grandma Dorothy was present and her daughter Jaden was present. It was important for them to see that. And I appreciated that Dorothy apologized to Jamil. She apologized to her daughter-in-law, which was necessary. It's just the start of healing. Sometimes all you need to hear is sorry, right? It's important. At least that's where you start. And she also apologized to her granddaughter, Jaden, as well, for making her feel different than the other grandkids. make her feel like her grandmother didn't like her. So that was really, really good. Mark Sr., the father, does confront his mother for leaving him when he was a child. Well, when he was, a young boy, to go, with her boyfriend or her husband. And he told her that she left him and he felt abandoned. So it was good that he told her that. Sometimes we have resentment toward our parents and we don't tell them. We hold on to it and we just move on. But we have to start being honest. These conversations aren't easy, but they are necessary. They are necessary. The goal in prayer for all of us, including myself, I'm not a parent yet, but I will be one day. The goal in the prayer for all of us is that we don't raise our children and we don't give them a life. We don't give them an experience with us in which they will need healing from later. That is the goal. And that is the prayer, that our children don't have an experience with us that they will need healing from later. And so all my parents, all my future parents to be, let that all be our prayer, because this family is in so much dysfunction, but it's generational. And like I stated earlier, whatever you don't deal with in this generation, it will show up in the next. So deal with your stuff. Let's just all start to unpack and start being honest with ourselves. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. So if there's any unfinished business with your family, any unforgiveness, any conversations that need to take place, I encourage all of you to begin the process today. Feelings may get hurt. It may get uncomfortable, but it will be better than taking so much hurt, so much trauma, and feeling like you regret that you never got a chance to have a conversation with someone because they're no longer here, right? And so let the rest of your days, like Iyanla says, let the rest of your days be in peace and not in pieces. So I hope that you enjoyed my review. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment, share with a friend, and go and see this episode. It is phenomenal. All right, guys. So I will see you next review. I am Chrisnatha Derosier signing off until next time. And until then, be well.